Good evening, and welcome to the Wakefield town election coverage by WCAT. Before we start, I usually do this at the end of debates or something, but I really want to thank WCAT. I've been in discussions with some other town moderators and other folks who do cable TV, and this is really unique to do a show like this live with the professional setup that we have here. So I want to thank Tom Stapleton, WCAT, and of course David Watts Jr., who puts together and produces this whole effort, which takes quite a bit of work. So with us tonight to review, discuss, and opine on, with me on my left is Gerard Lehman. Gerard is a forensic accountant. I love to say that. That means he decides who killed the numbers. And he also is chairman of the financial committee here in Wakefield. Good evening, Gerard.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
And with us also is Anthony Guardia. He's an attorney. He's also the chief development officer of the Wakefield Stoneham Boys and Girls Club, correct?
Correct.
And as I like to point out every year, a former 19-year-old member of the school committee, the Doogie Howser of Wakefield politics, which I'll call him till he's probably 40.
I Wikipedia'd Doogie Howser the other day. I guess he had a TV show.
Yes, he did. Thank you very much. All right, what we've got is essentially three contested elections here this evening. Selectmen, school committee, and constable. So why don't I get rid of the other races before we get into some discussion about these? How's that? Okay with you boys?
Yeah. It's pretty formidable.
All right, town clerk Betsy Sheeran is now running for her own 3-year term. I have successly won again unopposed as the town moderator, 1-year term, which the Charter Commission and I have to discuss, all right? We have Municipal Gas and Light Commissioner, Jack Walchel won that. Board of Assessors, Sebastian Tyne won again. There were 3 candidates for 3 seats for the library trustees. They were all successful. Michael Bork, Joseph Savastino Tringali, not to be confused with his father, Joe Tringali, who's on the FinCom, and Susan Wetmore. Bill DeMori returns to the Planning Board, and Allison Melman to the Board of Health. In the constable's race, we have John Ruwine, Kevin Lopes, and Robert Stewart, 3 candidates for 1 position. A race for constable. What do you guys think? Kevin Lopes is he the incumbent? No, Ruwine is John Ruwine, yeah. And Lopes is coming back. Lopes was a constable for a while, wasn't he? And then
he was.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know much. It was, of the 3, it's not that high profile.
I don't think anybody's watching to talk about constable. I'm going to guess.
Yeah,
for you folks, for you 3 gentlemen that put an effort in, we won't pay attention to what Anthony just said, okay? And we're glad we appreciate your service, and like they say in the service. All right. School committee, Anthony. What about the school committee race?
So I think it's going to be interesting to see what we see tonight. The last time we were here a year ago, I talked a lot about that bubble where I thought there was a lot of people who follow, they read the Daily Item day to day, cover to cover, which you all should. It's a great paper. They're on the Wakefield community group. They comment all the time, and if you listen to that bubble, you would think that the people who voted for the 4% are in trouble. The people who are supported it were in trouble.
When you say the 4%, explain to the regular folks who aren't obsessed with Wakefield politics.
So basically, I'm going to say, for lack of better terms, there was some sort of agreement where the school committee, in exchange for an 11% budget increase last year, would keep their budget to a 4% increase in the following years. This year's budget was 4.8 something.
4.84.
4.84, forensic accountant. The fact is, I think that it's a debate to definitely be had. It's a great discussion to have. It talks about the needs of a community. But the way it sometimes gets communicated in these Facebook groups, in the paper, makes you think that it's a much bigger issue. I think that's all inside baseball. I think what we're going to see is the candidates who supported the increased budget, it's going to have absolutely no impact. I think you're going to see that it is something that was, I don't want to use the word overhyped, but again, it's something that's really more about the people who are involved every day, because I think the bigger issues are the people who want, a new high school, a better education, and I think most of Wakefield sees the big picture and don't really pay attention to a 0.8% increase over a year. They're looking at 4-year spans. They're looking at 5th to 9th, 9th to 12th.
What's going to impact their kids in the most sensitive years of
Exactly.
learning. I think that's the right political assessment. I will not bore this audience to death with why an out-year commitment is important after a big lump sum. That's
We
probably,
don't have any numbers. Bore away. Let me just point out who's running.
Yeah, that's
Everybody
probably a good idea.
Everybody likes to hear their name on TV. Chris Callanan is the incumbent. Ashley Shea Chase is a newcomer. Well, she and her husband, who ran for Board of Selectmen. Anne Marie Fortier, Evan Michael Kenny, who was formerly on the board,
Correct.
and Greg Powers. So that's the lineup. Get back to you guys. Sorry.
Well, I'd like to compliment you on your pronunciation of Fortier.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Even though I majored in Spanish, I spent a lot of time near the Canadian border.
So may I weigh in on school committee, Bill?
Pardon?
May I weigh in on the school committee?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So part of the dynamic that I'm starting to learn now as a parent of very young, just starting out in the Wakefield Public School students, is that I feel like my colleagues are looking for, my peer group is looking for a candidate that is discernibly for something, making sure that their kid is going to get a solid advocate on the school committee.
Completely agree.
There is, my worldview being the financially minded, someone who sees the whole town budget, I do try to educate people about, spending more isn't necessarily going to send your kid to Harvard or Princeton. That we should really buckle down and look at the choices being made. But that notwithstanding, that larger commitment to citizenship being one thing, the school committee race often does come down to someone who's very affirmatively for something, whatever it might be, and articulates it well and passionately.
Drew, can I ask a quick question, or can I just your opinion on this, because we don't have numbers? Would it be fair to say, after watching the debates and seeing the newspaper, that you have Chris Callanan and Anne Marie Fortier, and probably to a certain extent Ashley Chase as well, she's probably the least well-known out of the group at the start of the election, are probably, and I use the word liberal not in the big major sense, but are probably the people who are more for something, who really kind of could have argued that, more progressive. And Evan and Greg were the ones who came out strongly against that 4.8%.
They came out for something, and I kind of wish they both put a different gloss on it. To your point, Greg, for certain, has a lot of financial management experience, and they were for demonstrating that the school committee is a stakeholder in financial management for the town writ large. So they did come out for that, and that was clear from the debate. Ann and Chris definitely gave the strongest, clearest, we're for spending this amount of money, whatever, come what may. And Ashley was very much focused on her expertise. This is what I took away, and as a father of a special needs student, bringing her expertise in BCBA and autism challenged students. So they definitely had unique, but to your point, kind of bucketable appeals to people. And Chris and Anne Marie definitely were similar. Greg and Evan were definitely similar, and Ashley was unique.
Do you think
Strong field.
Very strong field.
You know what I mean? Without, sometimes you get some fringe players in some of these things.
Yeah.
Is that a nice way of putting it?
That is a nice
Fringe
way to put it.
players. And in this case, everybody here had something to bring to the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, we're going to bring in Tony Longo for a little while.
Tony, come in.
Playing this fast and loose tonight. We're not going to act like it. Tony, come on, walk in.
Good to see you, my friend.
You have a mic? Don't worry. It's a long stretch. Okay.
Do you have a mic?
I do have a mic, see?
Oh, look at this.
Tony,
They took care of
current
it.
member of the Board of Selectmen. Let me introduce the Selectmen's race, and this is going to be something. Phyllis Hall, the incumbent, who ran in the special election last summer and returned to the board after a brief hiatus. Dan Benjamin, who finished in the running, but, not in the running, but he finished close last year, shall we say. Maureen Butt, who ran previously, and I think has been campaigning since then. Stephen Nathan Chase, husband of Ashley Chase, a young couple who's clearly committed to the town. Ed Dombrowski and James Laffrey. Those are the candidates. Can you what?
Can I just add, so I met Stefan.
It's Stefan, right. I forgot
Stefan.
that from the debate. What did I call him, Steve? Maybe that's his nickname.
No, I met Stefan and Ashley, and just a wonderful, wonderful couple. They're great. Could any of us here convince our wives to run with us on the same ticket? I would never.
No.
Never.
No.
Actually, you're forgetting that I used to sleep with a public official, and now my wife is no longer on the library board of trustees. So right?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Steve.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, not Steve.
I was hoping somebody caught
Get a kick out of that, Steve?
I have to give the
All right,
Chasers.
Tony. So what's going on with this?
Yeah, really. I have to give the Chasers a lot of credit for really coming out of nowhere.
Agreed.
The two of them throwing their.
I hope they stay involved no matter the
absolutely.
results.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed my
They had
conversations
some
with them.
great points on the debates.
To Anthony's point about the bubble, and perhaps I fall in that group, but I thought, wow, these two are genius. It's like a double get out the vote campaign. You'll have an affinity group already built in. I'm like, this is genius. Same sign locations. This is like a merger strategy. I love it. It's absolute genius.
Chase fill in the blank.
They both were impressive, though. I mean, during the debate, her issues may have been a little narrow for first time out. I got to be honest. You know what I mean? Because it appeared that way. I think only because she's so astute at that aspect of what she was discussing at the time. He's got an impressive resume in terms of at least in terms of academics.
His knowledge of the issues too. I mean, as a first timer, some of his in-depth answers. Same with her. Some of their answers were incredible.
Well studied.
Absolutely.
Very proud
Way
Bentley
beyond.
alumnus. I'm happy to see it.
Great.
So how's it been?
Good. The first year's been great. The first year's been,
really?
a great experience. Yeah.
What's it like being here on election day without having to be out holding the sign?
You know what? I was talking to my wife on the way over, and we had a similar kind of weather last year. We just rained most of the day. We had periodic downpours, and I think it's going to kind of keep some of the turnout a little low. We're probably looking at maybe 14%.
That's bad.
But it is what it is.
What was your expectation coming in? Because Anthony and I were talking about it a little bit, and Dan Sherman and I were talking about it earlier. What was your expectation prior?
Prior to being elected, or prior to
the weather kind of playing a factor on turnout?
I was hoping for upper teens.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I was hoping for something in the upper teens. But these are the hardcore people to get out. Unfortunately, it did hold off till about 2 or 3 o'clock. But I think a lot of people coming home from work saw that horrific downpour and just said the heck with it. And
Do you think that would affect the senior turnout instead? So I had this conversation, and do you think there's a pivot?
That's sort of an ageist comment.
No, but I mean, so the idea is always
I
that
had to.
there's always an argument of young people stay home when it rains. That used to be there. It's just too busy. You got to get the kid. There's always been that argument. If it rains, the only people who vote are seniors. That was what I heard.
I thought you were saying it's the other way.
So is there? I mean, we'll tell by the results. Is there an argument to be made that maybe it's the other way?
Could be.
I'm going to say that I think seniors probably get out the earlier than later. I telecommuted today, so I was there at probably 10 o'clock, and I think
It's good to see the Board of Selectmen making use of technology. If I may, through you, Mr. Moderator, ask Tony a question. So we're going to have the Selectmen candidates hopefully come through. Could you caption for us, perhaps, what you see as like the upcoming issues that are going to come before the board after the recess and whatnot?
some of the biggest issues we're talking about, we have the recreational marijuana issue.
Yeah.
We have, the high school, are we going to build a new high school or not? And I'll be quite honest, I see our chances this year as slim.
Yeah.
Only because Saugus is in need of a new high school, probably more so than Wakefield. I've been through that school; it's terrible.
Yeah.
And the downtown, I see downtown turning around somewhat, and that's always on everybody's radar.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the lake. I've always been a big proponent of getting the lake cleaned and swimmable again.
Yeah.
And that's not probably going to be cheap.
Tony, through the moderator, can I ask you a question? Is that the name?
Yes.
Tony, what I'm curious about, and this is just the dynamics of the town. Last year, you and Peter May won, and I think we would all agree but at the beginning, you guys topped the ticket, and you guys were probably the least well-known out of the bunch. And I was just thinking, that kind of represented a pivot to a new generation of Wakefield residents. If we don't have the results yet, but if, say, Maureen and Ed, who are probably the newest people, were to win tonight, do you think that's a continuation of a new generation of Wakefield residents who are maybe saying, and it's not a condemnation of the past, but are just saying, we're new, we want to start new, we want to bring new people, and are you part of that?
I think I am part of that progressive ticket, or that progressive way of mind. we are willing to look at new things, looking at new avenues, new ways to get things done. I'll be quite honest with you, the biggest area of opportunity I see in this town is the Lakeside Office Park and that hotel. As far as a business development kind of standpoint, I think that has some of the biggest potential in this town. And I know you guys get things to do. You probably have some of your candidates lining up. I don't want to take up more of your time, but again, thanks for inviting me down.
We don't have any numbers yet. You can hang around.
I can hang around, sure.
No, Ann, what's her name? She ran last year?
Yeah, Ann Santos.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
She prosecuted you, remember?
She's prosecuted me, all right.
No, so we can keep going. What's the ETA on numbers? Any idea?
Any idea?
Well, you're cogitating on that. I want to ask Tony one question. So what were you hearing? Again, so you're 1 year detached. You're not up this year, but you're obviously involved. Was there a buzz for people to get involved, get out and vote? What were you? I was getting sort of tepid enthusiasm. I was probably on a higher tier of personal enthusiasm. But what did you feel?
People continually want change. They want change. They want upgrades. They want to see the board get better. They're looking for a progressive stance. They just want to see improvement within the town.
Yep.
And every time they drive through downtown, they see a reason for to get involved or to do a little bit more for the town. And I think that may be one of the reasons you had 6 people running for 2 seats, and you had 5 people running for a school committee as well.
Well, and the campaigns even spoke about it. I mean, I talked about this last year. It baffles me because I remember when I ran, and again, I was 19 and I was very impressionable, but so many people told me, you can't be for an override. You can't be for debt exclusion. You can't be for spending more. It all has to be about saving as much taxpayer dollars as possible. I think almost all the campaigns, again, we'll see this more dynamic play on the school committee side than I think the selectmen side, but so many of the campaigns were about, let's build the rail to trail, let's renovate the Walton School, let's talk about the high school. And that was something that I think it speaks to that generational shift, because you're not talking about we'll see. Because we don't have numbers, but I think Evan Kenny was the only candidate who really was harping on property taxes. So it's going to be interesting to see what the numbers are. But I was surprised that all the campaigns took this new, I don't call it new, but in the past 2 or 3 years, it's been about, like to your point, Tony, building Wakefield versus saving property tax dollars. Yeah. And I think that speaks to those young professionals are moving in and, I bought my home in Wakefield. I want to see more amenities. I want to see better schools.
And the board voted for a 1.5% increase. We could have went to the 2.5%. We voted, 1.5% on property. What people don't understand that property values in Wakefield are going through the roof. My neighbor had an open house 3 weeks ago. His house went for $60,000 above asking price. Wow. Crazy.
I had to pay above asking, and I don't. What I tell you is when you pick a town, you look at it and you do. I go back, again, this is my roots. The number one thing you look at is school system. Everything else is secondary to the school system. But, it's school system, but then you look at what's around you. In Wakefield, you have, I always say I'm stealing this from Kelly Stromsky, but she had a slogan for Wakefield, and it was, lake location life. But it's a great location. You have great amenities with the lake, and potentially this upbringing downtown, but the school system's strong. And again, so many candidates, I want to push back, not all of them, but I would say most of the candidates, and we'll see, spoke about this idea of we have to build, again, renovating the Walton was being promoted. When I was on the school committee, it was something you were trying to stay away from. Are you for an override? You had to almost play that game.
So when you were running for the school committee, that was really economically difficult for the whole country. So where I get a little concerned is, people are now happy to spend the dividend from some tough choices over tough years. So I'm hoping whomever gets elected keeps in mind that discipline in their early years led to the freedom to do this now, and we'll have to keep kind of a certain vigilance. But
Pat Glenn, who last night was his last night. Left the town in a great, fiscal position. Yeah. There's $9 million in free cash that we're looking at.
So, and to your point, just so you know, when we were on the school committee, and it's funny because we're talking about 0.8, right? Yeah. There were times on the school committee, and this is why Chris Callanan, to me, is just one of the best people I know. The day after Christmas, we had to sit there, and we were laying people off. I voted on Tuesday, and people on Wednesday didn't have a job. It impacted me tremendously. and we were making millions of dollars worth of cuts. We were trying to make the school system less worse. So now it's so funny to see this whole debate, at least again in the insiders, among 0.8%, because it's a great discussion to have for me, because I'm thinking, my God, look how far we've come since those years. And to your point, it's going to be curious to see, and we have a great finance committee who I think under their leadership is going to make sure we don't lose that.
We have an amazing finance committee.
We work together great with school committee and board of selectmen, and Steve Mayo's a fantastic time.
It is a great town.
We are doing things in a team-based approach. It's fantastic. And I think part of that, you hear about in general, people being down on civic involvement, things like that. The folks who chose to run in this cycle and previous cycles want to be part of the big game. I think that's a great thing, and I think it's part of the testament and testimony of the fact that we do have a sort of a team-based approach. We have our differences. We can get constructively adversarial from time to time. Not acrimonious.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
Constructively
not acrimonious,
adversarial.
but in the best traditions of the
No, but I think that's a fair point.
No, but it has FinCom since, I don't know how long I've been doing this, but it has grown. It's interesting. We have people who are not only fiscally, say, experienced or involved, but we also have people who are lifelong town people.
That's correct.
You know what I mean? We've always tried to keep. I'm always the one sort of permanent member of the appointing committee, and it really has a nice balance. You know what I mean? It has.
And kudos to you and we've had your chairman for working on that.
Thank you. We've had some great candidates too. I mean, you know, some of the years we have to. When I first started, it was like, yikes, is this it? And now it's like, you know, I remember Cusack, the first year we had to tell him that he wasn't on. I went to a bar and I said, "You're great, but this guy's been waiting for years. You got to move him." And then and he turned out to be a phenomenal member.
I'll just say this about
a really funny guy,
a great guy. But he's a great example too, because he's a technology specialist. Yeah. So I know in the few selections I've made, and you've probably done the same. Certainly, my prior chairman have done this. We believe in something like the Medici effect. If you guys know what that is, it's a great book that shows if you take non-financial people and put them in a financial role, and non-legal people and put them on a legal problem, they'll broaden the perspective of the whole group and lead to better outcomes.
Right.
So at least on FinCom, and I would guess on all our boards, we've benefited from having a multidisciplinary approach.
We do.
So it's not just a bunch of green eye shade guys like me. We have construction experts, lawyers, actuaries, stay-at-home moms. It's really
two
fantastic.
guys who are friends of mine that I try to get interested. Well, is if you look at Billy Boudry and Pete, both are like in purchasing, in business,
financial operations.
Billy brings that strength. You know, I mean, he's a local guy. The Boudrys are a Wakefield family, but he brings that or brought that.
That's a great example.
When I used to say to him, here's a guy who, for a large corporation, Liberty Mutual, who was in charge of purchasing, had to know what to buy, not to. I'm simplifying it. Hey, Bill, what'd you buy?
Strategic sourcing.
Yes.
Strategic. Wow, you got some great words.
I see why you bring this guy on the private sector.
If I say synergy a lot, interfaces and synergy, and those words are great.
Exactly. That's what the MBA is for.
It's a free for all here now. Hey, do we have any numbers yet, you guys? I'm talking to the control room, okay? Just because it's fun. Okay. We're putting the numbers in right now.
And as we go, I want to say, I mean, how many of us can sit back and really say on this election cycle that, this was a lot of quality candidates.
All great people.
Exactly.
I don't think this was any race. I can't imagine any Wakefield voter who didn't go through the list and said, whether, and I'm going to just pick on the selectmen because I'm like, whether it's Phyllis, Dan, Maureen, Stefan, Ed, or James, looked at them and said, wow, these are, any one of these people could have
I'll
done
raise you one element of specificity. If you looked at their ads in the paper or their mailers and looked at their resumes, either professional or...
we have numbers.
Hold on. Yeah, okay. All right, we got numbers up on the screen, and they are unofficial. I need to say that they are unofficial.
Okay.
For legal
That's such
reasons.
a big town.
And any contestants. Okay, look at this. Who do we have?
It looks like it's Ed and Maureen.
Ed Dembrowski.
More talent from the Mohawk Valley. Love it.
That's right. More from the Mohawk Valley. That's right. My hometown of Schenectady, where Ed matriculated for 4 years. He's a graduate of Union College. Maureen Butt. What do we got? Who's next? Phyllis.
Phyllis.
And Dan
Close.
Benjamin. And
The first top 4 were close.
yeah,
That's
that is
tight
close.
grouping.
And those aren't official. Are we getting any more numbers, or is that we don't know?
That's
it for now.
Is that fine? I mean, is that
Yeah.
all the precincts?
I think that's all the precincts by looking at those numbers.
Kate's nodding her. Kate Morgan's in the background, by the way. Hey, Kate.
All right, Tony, we're going to bid you adieu.
Excellent.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you kill me if I tell you should come on?
Appreciate it.
No, well, she's not. And you guess what? Hey, Doogie, sit down.
All right, sorry. Hey,
And if I could just conclude, if you didn't, maybe you didn't win, please get involved with the town because you
great.
are all excellent candidates.
Excellent point.
Yeah, that's where we left off.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Tony.
right, well, what we have here is the top vote getter for the selectmen's race, Ed Dombrowski. Come on out. Come on down.
Hey, I'm so happy for it. Congratulations, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, congratulations.
I don't get up. I'm
well
all
earned.
hooked up to stuff here, okay?
Thank you.
Ed, how'd it go? That's right.
Congrats. How do you feel?
Well,
Yeah.
I feel dry now. Gosh, a half hour ago I was in wet jeans. This is my 3rd pair of pants for the day, so it's
And
hard
not to be
fun.
dry for long if all things go well.
Fair enough.
Bar comment.
So can I make one point and just say I'm absolutely miserable because if those numbers hold up, I'll be losing a very important member of the finance committee.
Yeah,
That's,
before we came on the air, as they like to say, that's the first thing Gerard said to me is this.
I remember way back
The
when.
downside of Ed running is that he won't be on FinCom anymore. So.
It's been a phenomenal experience. Gerard at the helm has just directed us in such a positive way, and it's been very, very, very rewarding.
Would you agree with what I offered earlier? I hope you had a chance to hear, but we do have a collection of that broad group of people. Did that come through in your experience?
Absolutely.
Did you think it helped you in this?
Absolutely. I think different perspectives, different backgrounds
Yeah.
brought us to better solutions.
Yeah.
No question.
Not yet.
To hear a Phil McCarty,
No,
come
I'm
from
talking to the
engineering.
control room. Sorry, guys. That's how we're doing this tonight.
To hear Phil
Nice and easy.
or Wayne Tarr talk about the price of aggregates in a particular year,
Right.
the kinds of discussion we have, they're not televised. They're very infrequently reported, but we do try to get a lot of different perspectives. And I would think it positions someone well who thinks they can make a contribution on the Board of Selectmen or the school committee or some other elected board. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
But, most certainly. I mean, I think and throughout the campaign, I was when I was meeting, voters, I was explaining how important I think that experience was because you learn the nuts and bolts of how this town runs.
Yeah.
You go through all the budgets, you understand them, you have them explained by the department heads, and it's such an invaluable experience. I think it's such great training for what I see as the next step in this.
Excellent.
Ed, so before you came on, I don't know if you heard us talking, but I said, I remember the point was if Ed and Marina, it looks like unofficially, you two will be the winner, it'll represent a major shift in the politics of Wakefield in the sense that a new generation of the Wakefield electorate has come. And by that I mean the two people would probably, with the exception of Stefan, have the least name recognition at the beginning of the race or within the past year or so, have come on, have topped the ticket, and have beat really some, I don't want to use the word icons, but some real political figures. Dan Benjamin's been involved in every group in town. Phyllis Hull is as close to icon status as you can.
Yeah.
I'm
Jim-
giving it to her.
Yeah,
She's an icon.
Phyllis is an
I mean,
icon.
and by the way, I think the world of Dan and Phyllis. I've worked with Dan on a bunch of committees. Phyllis goes to St. Florence. I absolutely think the world of them. Jim is a great guy. He's been on a bunch of different committees. Stefan, I think, just came on a little late, but the two new people won. And does that, to you, represent some sort of shift in the electorate? What do you think made it that you and Maureen have now really, I don't want to call it an upset because it's a local election, but have really won the ticket, topped the day?
I think first off, I have to thank the voters of Wakefield for their support. I mean, that's why I'm sitting here, and so I cannot thank the voters enough for that. And it was a very competitive race. I have great respect for everyone that was running that race. I think there were plenty of people that would have done a great job, and so I feel incredibly fortunate, and I thank them for a very spirited contest, and it was. They made me work harder, and I think I was a better candidate because of the competition that I had. And I'd like to think that's the same with the other candidates as well. I don't know what it represents. I think it represents the Wakefield voters looking at resumes, meeting candidates, and then making determinations about the people that they think are best equipped to move the town forward. And that was my message throughout. Wakefield is a great place to live. It is. I want to be a contributor to make it even better. And I think that with the continued hard work, which begins tomorrow, certainly, I want to be able to see that through. And I think that's what people are looking for.
Let me ask you this. When you decided to run, what did you do those first 2 or 3 weeks to get this off the ground?
That's a great question.
Have you ever? Hey, thanks, guys.
You should look into a career in moderating.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Had you ever run for anything? Did you run for student council in high school?
Back in high school, yeah. I actually.
Okay.
So
What were you?
I ended up senior class president, but that was a number of years ago.
I was vice president. I still played hoops, so you could, So what were you thinking? What were you thinking those first 2 or 3 weeks? Like, how did you formulate going about running for selectman in this town?
Sure.
You had a leg up by being on FinCom. Agreed.
Right.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking. I learned very quickly I had a lot of work to do, and that was my first thought. And so I realized I needed to do what I could to meet with the voters, to get my name out, to get my message out,
right,
and to make sure that people knew who I was, what I stood for, and what I was interested in doing for the town, and what I thought I brought to the table. And that was the first set. The next set of considerations was, gosh, this is a short amount of time and a lot of voters to meet. And
when did you form a committee?
Pretty early on. I actually submitted my papers, I believe it was a day or two before the deadline, so it was late. It was late. It was in March, and within days. I recall a Friday night. I've had some incredible volunteers that have just been tireless in what they've done for this, and I recall sitting around my kitchen and talking through and kind of planning out what a strategy would look like, and the to-do list kept growing and growing and growing, and we just were able to execute. And I'm so grateful to so many people who were able to make that happen.
So I know I see Anthony want to get in, but I have to ask this question at the risk of being rude. So you are a small business owner, and a lot of small business owners will get overwhelmed by a task list. Did you rely on some of that experience to say, hey, I have a core strategy, I can't be overwhelmed by the emergent, I have to figure out what is important? Did any of that sort of experience factor into your ultimate success, you think?
I think so. There was.
How did it impact your law practice?
How much have you billed? How much did you bill?
Billables may be off slightly in recent weeks.
Well, hey, you might get some new business.
There's a restructuring of priorities.
But I think it's an important question to ask, and I think the simple answer is, when you have a good infrastructure in place, then you can delegate and rely upon people to successfully execute, and that's what I was able to do at my law firm. I had to take some time off, obviously, to spend more time in town, knocking on doors and reaching out to the voters. But I had great confidence in the team that I had built, and I think that's important. And I think going forward with the town, we're looking for that too.
Ballpark figure, how many doors you knock on?
We're still counting them, actually. I couldn't even tell you, gosh, couple thousand.
One year when we did this show, and it was, when it was in its inception, it wasn't as organized as this, and we had to fill time, and candidates weren't here yet. And all we kept talking about was lawn signs. It's become a euphemism almost. We've actually, the last couple of years, we haven't used it. I'd always joke like lawn signs. But I think in your case, honestly, I think the lawn signs made a huge impact on name recognition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You didn't go to Wakefield High, that kind of thing. And I honestly think, that made, I think people think, hey, this guy's working.
Yeah,
he's got stuff out here, and if he's doing this, what's he going to do when he gets on that, that committee for me?
I want to jump in, because to that point, Ed, and this is just the politics of it, I think your late start, I think, leads to this. You've had to have flipped votes, because it's a low turnout. And when you have people like Phyllis and Dan and Jim and the people who are well known, and this is true for Marina as well, there must have been people who at the beginning of the race I had no idea who you were, but it's true. And and as you got closer and closer, I got to tell you, I even said it. The more I talked to you, the more I'm like, wow, this guy. I hope he. I was thinking like the Kevin, the Greg Liakoses or the Paul Donacos, the people who had ran once, lost, built their name recognition, and then ran again. But I think I go back to that generational shift. But also the second part of it is, I think the more compliments to you, the more people who met you, they must have said, you know what, I'm flipping. I think you peeled off a lot of votes from people who probably originally were at the very beginning not with you.
Which is impressive.
Which is a compliment to you.
Are these numbers official? Can anybody tell me that? Not official yet? Can we say that Ed won though?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking with the control room here. So I mean he won, but it's official. Signed, sealed, delivered. Not yet. Look, Richard.
Hey, he also has to do the whole thing on with Betsy, and he has to sign the book and everything.
Yeah,
so.
Not official yet. Okay. Yeah. Where's your party?
So
I know. See, I'm saying
indeed, yes. It's actually at Karen's in the heart of the downtown. I'm trying to drive folks downtown.
That's right. So what are you going to do tomorrow? Take out some hammers and nails, start putting up some signs and moving some stuff?
I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. Actually,
how about sleep?
That would be a welcome change of late. Yeah. Last night I knocked on my last door. Gosh, I actually apologized to the people because it was a little past dusk. It felt like, and they were nothing but appreciative, and they said, you have our votes because you knocked on our door. And they appreciated the effort, and it's small town politics, and it's making the personal connections. And I thought that from the beginning, in speaking with people, they said, you have to get out there, you have to meet the people. And I think it made me a better candidate because as I went around knocking on doors, as I spoke with people, I understood what their concerns were. There were so many concerns that are nearly universal, and priorities that folks around town have. We don't do we don't do polling throughout these races, but I'm incredibly grateful to Kate Morgan, my campaign manager, and I often would say to her, I feel like I'm taking a poll because I'm going door to door. And I don't look at party affiliations, I don't look at age, I don't look at anything but have you voted? And if you voted, I'm going to reach out to you. And I've had so many great discussions with so many folks within town, and that's really what kind of helped me to refine my message, to understand where the priorities lied, and also to reinforce that the direction that I saw the town going in and the priorities that I set out in my campaign were consistent with what people were looking for, and that was really important, I thought. And I was so impressed by how many voters, by the time I'd gotten to the door, had read about me or had done their homework. I mean, it's an informed electorate, and I have great respect for that. Yeah. It's not, it's not just what name looks good. I mean, these folks knew, and I faced a lot of tough questions, on some of the doors that I knocked on, because they are informed. They knew what my positions and priorities were. They wanted to know how I could get there, and I respect that. A solutions-oriented approach, and making sure that we're making decisions that are going to be sustainable in the long term. That's really important.
Okay, we got to kick you out of here.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, congratulations.
I appreciate that.
Hey, thank you, man.
Good to see you.
Hey,
Yes.
by the way, it was a good idea, huh?
We're going to miss you.
Thank you.
We're going to miss you, Ed.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss you guys too.
All right, we're going to throw up those school committee numbers now.
So wow,
Anybody
guys,
out there?
Oh.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah, it's a tight race for the top there.
Look, we've got
it's not a tight race in
we've got
between.
the top of the ticket coming on now. Mr. Callanan, how are you? Congratulations.
The old Grizzle veteran.
Yeah.
Chris, good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey.
Chris, congratulations.
Yeah, I can't get up there. I'm hooked up, Chris. I'm all wired up here.
Chris, can I take a moment before we
We all think you will.
You're going to anyway. What can I do?
don't care what camera's
Throw a
on. I'm gonna do
headlock
this,
on
Chris,
you.
I'm going to do this for you because I know you won't. To all the people who gave you a hard time on Facebook, who were calling school committee members names, who were going after people for the 0.8% increase and thinking that was the biggest issue, you proved them wrong tonight that Wakefield voters care more about the long-term plans, the long-term investments. They care about new high schools. They care about the Walton School. They care about what the investments are. And you took a lot of heat a lot of heat, I think would be fair to say. And you proved all the naysayers wrong. You topped the ticket. And I know you'll be very humble and generous. I'm not going to be for you. I'm so proud of you and so happy for you. As a guy who served with you for 6 years, I couldn't be happier for you, man.
Well, thank you.
Hey, you know what we're going to do? I'll let you talk now, Chris. Congratulations.
Okay. Yeah, since you're the candidate here that just won. So what are you thinking? What are you feeling here? You topped the ticket, man.
I think that's the first time.
Wait, really?
Really? Do you? You would know, you know.
I think it's
okay. Go ahead.
Well, it's one of those things I don't pay a lot of attention to, but
sure.
A seat's a seat, but it always feels good to top it. I have to admit it. But I just, to Anthony's comments, I mean, you just, when you're on the school committee, yes, you need to be conscious of how much money you spend and how much the town can afford and all those things, but your number one priority still needs to be the students. And you present your best case for the students, and the rest of the town can go along with it or not and say, geez, we'd like to, or we can't, or whatever the story might be. But if you don't present your best case, then you're not doing your job.
Agreed.
So I'm going to roll in because I probably have a different financial prioritization outlook than you two gentlemen as a general matter. But I do want to credit Chris for his closing comments, if that's a fair characterization, at the last school committee where you voted. Mm-hmm. And you did lay out in dispassionate terms, we're here because we saved money in the early years. The town's in good financial condition. It's 0.84 over the 4%. We targeted 4, but the superintendent wants to do X now to fill in the remaining blank, so to speak. And forgive me if I'm wrongly paraphrasing.
Absolutely, yeah.
But to me, that was such a sober, circumspective statement. As I was watching at home, like, Chris gets it. He knows that I'm coming tomorrow night, and I'm gonna be the tough FinCom guy tomorrow. But I get that he has heard my concerns and people who are more broadly fiscally minded. And I thought the way you laid that out was so constructive and allowed me, quite frankly, some space to vote for that 484 when I was previously, I was the only vote against the 11.4. So your manner and method was as important as the content of the way you delivered, and I thought it was very important. As a governance matter, it's good. And I also took a lot of solace knowing that Kate and Rob were willing to say, no, the fiscal is important too, and I can't support. So the way that whole meeting played out was great, but your presentation was very well balanced.
Well, thank you. And I guess what I really wanted to convey at that time the most was that, as much as we came in above what the target might have been, it's not as though we didn't look under every rock we could find and save wherever we could, but still maintain the integrity of the school progress that we needed to maintain. So
yeah, that came really, at the risk of interrupting, I think that absolutely came through to a lot of my members, myself included.
I can't say thank you enough to the voters of Wakefield.
I just want to move on, just because, again, I think that issue is such inside baseball. And if you don't mind me asking, I'm curious, Chris, what your vision is for the next 3 years in our school department, because I think, again, pardon me for being the former school committee guy who's aggressive on this. I almost think this is somewhat of a mandate. If you look, you're probably the top, it's not fair to compare selecting our school committee, but you had 2 candidates who talked about investing in schools, and we said at the beginning of the SEP show, if you watch, which was you and Ann, and then we had 2 candidates who really, and Evan especially, really talked about property taxes and keeping property taxes down. And Evan, a great guy, I think the world of him, you guys beat him by over 700 votes. That's not that close. And his argument, his analysis, his campaign was lower property taxes. Yours was invest. Is this a mandate for the school committee to go forward and continue to invest? And if so, what are some of the next investments that the school department wants to make?
Well, yeah, in a way, it's a mandate to invest, but I think it's a mandate in that people are, I think,
more comfortable spending their tax dollars at home than they are broadly, where they're having less of an impact.
That's a great
I
point.
think that's in some of that future shift you're talking about, the generational shift. Like folks who fall in R, even for advanced age people, we look at our property tax like a fee for service. I think some of our elder statesmen, that's their only tax burden. Really, it's not an income tax. I'd really love to cut income tax in half and spend tons more locally.
Let's not get off on this Republican agenda right now, all right?
But it's a good point. They do view it that way. They view it as a service provider, and as long as we're providing good governance to that service, they're going to support it.
And that's why I think we should have a better turnout. Because your vote locally has a greater impact than it does on a national election.
Amen.
Agreed.
But that's what's I would love to see the town get above 60%, but we can't quite hit the 20.
All right, Chris, we're kicking you out of here. Where are you going drinking?
We are at Laura Gorville's home.
Oh, okay.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, she just invited everyone over there.
Okay.
I got a text.
I didn't give you the address, though.
Whitepages.com.
Sure. Now he's being fiscally prudent.
Thank you. How to top the ticket.
Chris,
Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I'm so
Yeah, how'd it go? Yeah.
Thank you, Director.
How'd it go?
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. Thanks. Hey, so listen, let's run through some of these other numbers. In the other contested, it was all one sheet. In the other,
How come I didn't get the sheet?
well, you didn't because you talked too much.
Somebody has it. Ratings have gone up since I've been here.
So what happens in the other contested race, in the constable's race? Kevin Lopes, 1,330 votes. Ruine, 990 votes, and Robert Stewart, did I pronounce that right again? 533. So Kevin Lopes wins with a 46.62. Let's just announce, and the Gas and Light Commissioner, Jack Warchel, 2107 votes. The Board of Assessors, Sebastian Tyne, had 2106. Library Trustee, all three are reelected, all within a couple of percentage points. They were all in the 2,000
What do you have
range.
for blanks there, Bill, on that one?
On the blanks on the library
trustee.
number of uncast votes, 1,097.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who won, the blanks or you?
No, let me tell you, in the hotly contested personal race, Town Clerk Betsy Sheeran. God, I always finish second. 2,423 for 98%. Although Betsy beat me, she had 27 write-in votes. Okay, and in the moderator's race, I got 2,197, but I only had 24 write-in votes. And I can guarantee you 15 of those are Jerry Garcia, as they are every year. So anyway, yeah, that's that little giggle off camera is the new member of the school committee, Anne Marie Fortier. Come on down. There you go. Congratulations.
Congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. I can't get up here enough to stretch. All right. So, first question we ask everybody, how does it feel?
It feels wonderful. A lot of work, a lot of meeting new people. It's been a wonderful experience. So I'm really, really happy to be here and serve the community.
You have a lot of signs to pick up around town.
I think
You have a
so.
lot of signs.
Before you get inundated with school committee questions and financial questions, let me ask you a question that I asked Ed. What were you thinking when you first decided to do this? What were you thinking, and what happened those first 3 weeks? What was going on?
Right.
I think people want to know that. Like, you're just sitting in your room, like, I think I'll run for this.
Right. Well, I learned that Ann Danahy wasn't going to run. And I thought, you know what? I think this is my time. This is my call to action right here. I have experience. I have kids in the school. I have a lot to give to this community that has embraced me. It's the time.
Had you been contemplating it for a long time and just putting it off for whatever life reasons, or is it more spontaneous than that?
Not specifically school committee at this moment here in Wakefield, but it was a perfect storm of factors that came together. Yep.
So,
Okay, Anthony, go ahead.
guys, how you doing?
School committee.
Same question I asked Chris. I think, again, the vote totals show it. Again, I'm using the words progressive and liberal, but not in the national dialogue sense. The two candidates who really campaigned more on investment, more on, to Gerard's point, building something, that we're for something, won. The two other candidates, but Evan in particular, they were talking about slashing property taxes and keeping property taxes down, didn't. Do you think, A, that gives you some sort of mandate to continue the investments, and B, what do you think the future for the school system holds? What are some things you want to work on, and what are some of your plans?
Well, education is always an investment, you know, and you're always going to get what you put into it. And the strength of a community is often aligned with the strength of a school system. So I do view it as a mandate. We worked really hard to reach out to the parents and families in this community, and they responded. So, you know, in terms of what we would be looking at next, I mean, what's on the docket at this point is the high school, how we're going to manage that, and you know, the sort of physical plant, but also just having a sense of what 21st century learning is. What it is, what we need to invest in that in order to prepare our students for whatever they do after they leave our high school.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. And to just continue, I do think, again, I think it's clear as day. It's that generational shift. You and Chris have dominated. I think it's a clear win.
Caution on that, because if you take Greg and Evan, put them together, and they were in that bucket of sort of fiscal balance.
Yeah, I guess dominated is not a fair word.
I'd be, just as the forensic accountant, I often teach lawyers numbers, so I would do that. I would urge a modicum of I'd urge a modicum of caution.
But even if you add Evan, Greg, and Ashley together, I mean, you barely. I mean, Chris.
No, it's a win. It's a clear win, no doubt. I'm just.
I mean, by mandate, I don't mean go for an override tomorrow. But by mandate, I mean, I think to your point originally is. This was one of the clearest races, I think, where you saw two different approaches.
I am aligned.
Yeah, and I think you had one approach that said invest more, and one approach that said save property taxpayer dollars.
So, Lynn, back to you. Yeah, really. Get your own show, boys. So anyway, what? We could do better. Let's a little more personal stuff between these numbers here with these guys. Yeah. What was the most unique experience on the trail? Come on, make it a good one.
I know. I'm trying to think of a really good one.
Did anybody answer the door naked?
No one answered the door naked. I know. Although I've heard those stories.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have a serious question.
Yeah, no, I can't think of anything that's particularly interesting and unique in that regard.
Let me save you from Bill.
Okay.
Please. I have. By the way, Dave, I know you're watching the control room. Bill said earlier that Betsy got more votes, which means if Betsy was in that chair, our ratings would be higher.
That's right.
Anyway, no, but my serious question
Betsy's going to be in your chair in about 2 minutes.
No, the issue, so the question I do have, and it's a question I ask a lot of candidates, is what issue do you think is going to come up that nobody's been talking about? What issue do you think
That's a great question.
Thank you. Yeah,
it really is a good question.
Is there an issue that the school committee can deal with this year that it has not been discussed?
That has not been discussed in Wakefield. I mean, I think we've touched upon, so there's been a pendulum, right, that's been swinging towards quantitative assessments, and that's how you gauge whether a school is healthy and whether a school is productive. And the pendulum is now swinging back towards looking at students' social and emotional health, which really tends to be your foundation. So without that type of foundation and health, a student can't learn that well. So I think we'll probably, I suspect we'll probably be talking about creating environments where that exists so that they can then learn, all of the complicated and complex things that we want them to learn.
That's a good answer.
All right. Well, and you got an approval on your answer, too.
Shoot!
All
Where'd you
right,
get
how'd
those
it go?
shoes? Look at the shoes, guys. Can you zoom in on those?
I know,
Any of the
right?
camera do
Yeah.
that?
They're very cool.
Thank you.
know.
My dance goes. I love them.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations,
Thank
Dan.
you.
And
It was a
we're
pleasure.
kicking you out of here right now.
Go party.
Yeah, that's where you go. Yeah, go ahead.
You have a man party.
Thank you.
So congrats. I'm so happy
Thank
for
you so
you.
much. Congratulations.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Take
But
care.
wait, why do we have Bill Gerard? Me and you, we're the face of the franchise.
Be nice to him.
Betsy, come on up.
I have to keep getting up. This is.
Gentlemen.
Oh.
Yay! And I use the term loosely, of course.
Yeah.
Madam, town
Nice to
clerk,
see you.
come on
Good
top.
enough.
Mr.
I can't
Moderator.
move here.
I know you
Madam
can't.
Clerk, how are you?
Each year he gets less and less reach over
I
here.
understand that.
Hey, this
They
is
got me a
your
new,
day,
they got me a
really.
new
I mean, you're-
earpiece that works.
Yeah.
For
I'm
town
talking
clerks,
all
this is the
time
Super
here.
Bowl.
It is, well, yeah, I suppose. But I'm only going to take a couple of minutes because they're interviewing some of the other. Loving your socks.
Thank you very much.
Look at you, you
Thank
conservative
you for noticing
rascal.
the clean too.
Well,
Yeah.
unlike your shirt.
Yes, ma'am.
Stepping out for a Republican, huh?
at
I
him.
know, I like it.
The air of the power tie is gone.
Hey,
It's
let me
not
ask you.
power
So, look, congratulations.
Thanks,
I
honey.
didn't do
Congrats
the
to you,
math
too.
there, but you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Got me again.
How's it feel to beat Bill Carroll?
Honest, yeah.
Excellent. I felt,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I felt good every time I've done it.
Yeah. When was that? Never.
No,
Okay, listen.
no.
How did today go?
GA went perfectly, and that's why I'm up here just for a couple of
Okay,
minutes.
yeah.
I've got to thank everyone that came out to vote. I always feel, and I feel very strongly, it's a right and a privilege. And,
No kidding.
And
I
honest to
can't
God.
agree with you more about
and
that.
then secondly,
Shame on you who did not.
well, hey, that's the way it
No,
goes.
I'm
We
casting
make it very
aspersions.
open for them. But also to thank the wardens, the poll workers, the IT people, the policemen,
Yep.
and the people that met me. I've been at Town Hall since 5 o'clock this morning, and I meet the police very early, and they take everything because everything's locked up in my office. But I cannot thank, and I'd like to also thank the candidates. Win, lose, or draw, because to put your name on the ballot in a contested race is a very difficult
Right.
thing to do. But I cannot thank the staff in my office. Rosemary Morgan is fantastic. Denise Oates, fantastic.
Love her.
Yeah,
Keep going. Just pay no attention to him. Just keep going.
young lad.
Why am I here?
Adam Pinkney, who's the administrative liaison, who is fantastic. The registrars that came, Kathy Bolio and Peter Vitale. But it's a team effort, and it worked out beautifully, and I'd like to congratulate all of the winners, and I would like to also thank the others that ran for participating.
Of course.
It's so
That's just-
important.
it's
That's what
really
it's all
important.
about, truthfully.
And this was, we were talking at the beginning of the show, no fringe candidates this time.
No,
You
no.
know?
I mean,
You know, and-
good candidates.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
Completely agreed.
I mean,
We
somebody
weren't
like the
going to be-
Chases who didn't get a lot of votes. They're solid citizens.
But this is their
great
first time
people.
on-
Yeah,
this is
I
their
under-
first time
oh,
out
no,
of the
I
gate,
understand, but
you
that's
know?
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing and reassuring
Right.
to see this slate of candidates this time around.
Right.
It's a reflection of a genuine commitment.
Yeah.
And the thing
Yeah.
too is that no matter who won, we won. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
people
That's a good way to put it.
that
Yeah.
ran for the right reason.
Right.
You know. So
right. Everybody
I'm
here
very
was,
happy.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this: have you been from the Charter Commission yet?
Yes.
Oh, you have.
Yes.
Oh,
in fact,
okay.
I mentioned your name in Sheboygan, as the song goes.
Yeah, no, and I'm gonna do. I'm kind of, but I'm thinking about you're looking at or considering a single polling place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's
love that idea.
But that's
Yeah.
a Board of
That idea.
Selectmen call.
No, I understand, but
You know why? It
but
makes
you're-
it easier. People aren't. Let's say you moved within the community
Yeah.
from one precinct to another, and you go to the wrong precinct because you didn't change it or whatever.
Right.
What are the odds on a pouring, rainy, windy day like this that I might say to you, oh, you're down here in, just for instance, precinct 4.
Yeah.
Sorry, Charlie, you have to go over
Yeah.
to precinct 5 and 6. They may not go, but if we're in one spot,
Right.
oh, you're right down there. You know, you're right down,
And
5
it's easier
people
on the
down.
campaign staffs.
Listen to me.
It
Oh,
would be,
your
It's a
office has
win-win.
got to be your office. It's got to be.
But the
okay,
thing
yeah.
too is that I think it should be, and we'd have to work with the unions and with the school committee, that we should showcase the Galvin Middle School that people are paying taxes for. It's a new
Right.
school.
Yep.
And not
Beautiful
too many
middle
people
school.
get in there, get in and see what it's like.
Right.
And
So
I
is the
agree
issue
with you.
about moving to the fall election? Is that Charter Commission?
That's, well, it's a combination.
Okay,
That's a
all right.
second
That's what I
thing.
meant. I kind of-
okay.
yeah.
That's the second thing. We could save all kinds of money, and I'm not cheap, but I'm frugal. I really am. I'm not, you know.
Yeah, no, I know.
And we could cut down tremendously.
And turnout.
turnout would be.
Turnout, are you kidding?
Turnout.
People are
Yeah.
busy. It's the day of everyone running here, there, and everywhere.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
why why I compliment the people in the pouring rain that came out today.
Yeah.
What do you recommend other than the things we just talked about too? I mean, say the turnout was for a town of our size wasn't the best. What would you suggest to increase turnout?
All right. You can't drag a horse to water, okay? That you can make it as open. I think one of the things would be a single polling place. Could we have it on a Saturday? Heck, on June 24th, a few years ago, we voted on the Galvin on a Saturday right up here.
Why not?
You know, people are out. We're a mobile society. But I think...
That was a big issue, though.
Yeah, I know it was. I know.
I think Election Day, I think if we're in the fall,
I couldn't agree more.
Does it hurt the campaign? Does it hurt the local campaigns?
So there's one element of detraction, and I don't know how it is in a purple town like ours. Does someone who's willing to cross over, if you want to put the party labels on things or the general philosophical labels, someone who's
Don't put them on ours.
No.
No, I don't mean put. I mean someone who might identify with a candidate they know belongs to a political party and has a Trump sign on their lawn, but might go for someone who is not a Trump-like candidate in a local level. I think that happens a lot in Wakefield. I think it's very purple.
There's a lot of crossovers. I couldn't agree more.
So is someone going to want their sign next to the party that they don't belong to?
It's the choice you make.
Yeah, no,
it's the choice they make.
Is that?
Let me ask you one quick question.
Sure, and then I can
before we get you out of here.
Yeah.
What happened? Tell us something interesting that happened today that you didn't anticipate.
I can't tell you one thing because it really is. It wasn't bad. It was nothing. But
so you'll tell us later.
Maybe.
Where are you going? Where's the clerk party?
There is no clerk party. I'm exhausted, I've got to tell you.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But
Spruce Street, right?
one interesting thing. No way. You know what? It's people have to be interviewed there for another time, another day, and another place.
Okay, gotcha.
But there were two interesting things. Remind me.
All right.
Yeah, very interesting.
I will remind you.
I know you will. I know you will. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and you have a wonderful
congratulations,
audience.
Bets.
Thanks so
Good
much.
job.
And
Yeah.
I'll see
Thanks.
you a week from tomorrow to be sworn in. Because I don't get sworn in until 7 days afterwards. But I'll see you tomorrow at the town meeting.
Yeah, so we should do it that day, or should we do it then? We do it Monday?
No, Tuesday. It has to be 8 days after the election.
Oh, right. Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
But I'll see you
Can I wear the robe this time? Can I wear the robe?
again.
I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah, really.
All right, we're wrapping it up.
I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks,
you're
Anthony.
yelling at
Thanks,
me.
Gerard.
Okay.
Thank you, Betsy.
Okay.
Goodbye.
How'd it go? Congrats, Betsy.
Thanks.
All right.
Do you think
And
he's
now.
even going to move this time? Do you think he's even
No, I
going to
can't.
move?
I'm tied to this thing.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, you really can't move.
Maureen,
What do you think I'm making
stay
this
2
up?
inches away from Bill's hand. See what he does.
Yeah. No.
Maureen, congratulations.
No.
Thank you.
Anthony's our affectionate host.
Anthony,
Anthony's a
pay
friend.
attention. I can't move. I have a wire on. Thank you.
Hi.
It's a whole show. Hey, how'd it go?
I think it went okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
did it?
win?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Got over those day before jitters, huh? Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I already said what you told me yesterday, that you've been campaigning for 8 months.
It's been 8 months. It's been 8 months. I just told a reporter that I ran in the special in July, and I said in the debate that we had in June that my plan was always to run in April. So I've been campaigning since last May and June when I pulled papers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a long 8 months.
So politics is your business. I mean, this isn't new to you, though. You kind of know what the deal is. Public advocacy laws, what you do.
Yeah.
You get the grind.
Yeah. Yep.
So you weren't terribly surprised. Bill asked a great question earlier. You know, what did you do on day one? You must have had some kind of element of strategy already, kind of by default, or no, by intuition maybe is a better word.
Yeah, I've worked on
By interest. By interest.
Yeah,
that's
I've
a
worked.
good way to put it.
Yeah,
By interest.
I don't think politics is my livelihood. Policy is. So I've worked in public policy for the last 12 years as a professional, and I've worked on various campaigns. So yeah, I had a plan, and I'm pretty proud of my plan. I raised a lot of money. I sent out over 4,000 pieces of mail. We'll do the final tabulation tonight, but over thousands of phone calls, and I knocked on over 700 doors, and that's what you do to win a campaign. You get to meet voters, and I met hundreds of people in Wakefield, and I made hundreds of new friends in Wakefield.
We were just talking earlier before the show started about the impact of calls and whether people are just so tired of getting calls. Did you get any kind of reaction?
No.
Is it better at the local level, you think, than the national bombs we get every November?
Yeah, I mean, we're not New Hampshire, we're not Ohio. I think at the local level, people really like hearing from candidates and hearing from people who want to talk local politics. And I think I had great conversations with folks.
Yeah.
You know, my sister actually called a supporter. This is probably one of my favorite campaign stories. My sister called a supporter, and he asking for his wife, and he said, my wife is sick right now. My sister's like, well, I'm calling on behalf of Marion Butt. She's running for selectman. And I sent a postcard to that gentleman the next day saying, I hope your wife gets better. And he went and voted for me today.
Exactly.
And
That's how you do it.
and I truly hope that his wife gets better. So that's how you do it. So I think people appreciate the phone calls. I think they like knowing who's running, and they like people want to be heard, right? So they want selectmen, they want representatives who listen to them. Yeah. And I've always said that I think more than knowing politics, more than knowing public policy, I work with people every day, and I listen to people, and I try to come to consensus, regardless of what side of the aisle. I heard you guys saying that earlier with Betsy. Whatever size, we might not agree on a lot, but I will listen to you, and I will try to find a solution.
Can I ask too about so your work is from Rosie's Place. So
yes.
That's I got my start at Home Start. We worked very closely with Rosie's Place. You do incredible work there. For those of you people who don't know Rosie's Place is, well, I'll have you explain Rosie's Place, and then the question is, how do you think that work is going to impact your work on the selectmen?
Yeah, that's a good question, Anthony, and thank you. So Rosie's Place is the oldest women's shelter in the United States. It's 43 years old. We serve 12,000 women a year, homeless, low income, anyone who walks through our doors who self-identifies as a woman, we serve them. And as Director of Public Policy, I work on how to improve government accesses for them. So housing, hunger issues, food insecurities, and again, it's what I was talking about earlier. So I meet with women every day, and whatever their problem is, I try to problem solve it. And I work with a team, which is what being a selectman is that you don't work independently. You work with a great group of people, and you try to problem solve.
No, it's. I think you're exactly right. And for those of us, who are in it to improve lives and not just make money, like Gerard, but when you're at like a Home Start, or you're at a Beth Israel, or now at the Boys and Girls Clubs and at Rosie's Place, you don't care about whether it's a Republican idea, a Democratic idea, a conservative idea, a liberal idea, because you're dealing with the people who are affected. You're dealing with people who are desperate and need help. So you could care less what the idea, where it comes from, and what think tank it is. You just want to do what's best for the people you serve. And if you bring that mantra to town government, I think you'll serve it well.
So, I'm not interrupting him again. No way.
You want to keep it? So,
no, I do want to ask that question that you asked both Ann and Chris in the selectman context.
Oh, yeah.
And I had posed it to Tony. What do you see, at least in the next year? But if you care to expand it to your term of service, feel free. Issues either that you don't think people are thinking about that you want to bring, or that you think is what's likely to emerge?
Yeah, so again, as Bill jokes about, I've been doing this, I feel like I've been campaigning for 8 months, and the same 3 issues came up the entire time. There were the 3 things people talked about. One is we have made great progress in our schools, and we have to continue that great progress in our schools. People move to our town because of our schools. I don't have kids in the school system, but I understand the value of investing in our schools and finding creative ways to invest in our schools. Second is I love our lake. I moved to our town because of the lake and because of our natural resources, and we need to protect those. We have thousands of people who come to the town every week to walk that lake or bike that lake, and we have to find ways to connect the lake and all those people coming to our town. And then the third is economic development, right? And our downtown has made great progress. Greenwood's made great progress. We really need to look, and the selectmen, I'm hoping we can really look at a town-wide plan of how we connect all of Wakefield. We're not that big of a town to have so many different areas. So how do we do some creative development to make it more walkable and bikeable and family-friendly?
So I'll throw it to either one of you guys, if I may, through you, Mr. Moderator. How do you, and I probably should have posed this to Anne Marie, but what's the end point for schools? We get into this at FinCom, and I have my own opinions, but I'm curious, from a selectman's perch, what would you be looking at for, hey, here's an objective measure about what makes a great school? I know Wakefield Public Schools are great when fill in the blank.
Yes, for me.
Either one. I both your
we're
info.
asking Mary.
Yeah. She ran and won. Just so you know.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know why I'm here.
No, I did throw it to Anthony because I know he can't help himself. But Mary, you have primacy here.
That's a good question. I think they're continuing to progress. There's always room for improvement, right? And I think we have a great superintendent. We have a committed school committee. Education background isn't my background, and so
perhaps not fair. But
yeah,
you guys won't vote on the budget.
So I want to hear, and I want to hear what success is.
Yeah.
But I know, I want school committee members who are fighting for the best of their schools. I like to say when you're on school committee, your constituency is your students, right? And so you want the best schools, and you should be fighting every day to get the best schools for those students and to give them the best education you can. And as selectman, I'm looking at the town and what's best for the town, but I realize the importance of having good schools. It's critical. You see there's direct correlation between when you invest in schools that the town as a whole sort of improves. I mean, what's the total number right now? I think it's been 300 new families have moved since we built the Galvin. I mean, that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a measure of success. There's a lot of measures of success, and we can look at that to see.
You know what I find interesting? We discussed this before we had any results. Anthony was weighing in on it, and then we discussed it with Ed. But what's interesting is you and Ed topped the ticket against three fairly well-known folks from Wakefield. You know what I mean? Who've been here a while. And my thought is
Input in great work,
that people really do listen and pay attention to what candidates are saying. Yeah. Because I think those are all, Phyllis is like we said, she's an icon. Dan Benjamin, works his butt off for this town. Laffrey is involved on a lot of committees. He comes from a well-known family. So what did you yourself, well, I know for a fact from talking to you that was a concern of yours. And what did you do to overcome that lack of name recognition, if you will, or old town roots? What did you highlight to do that? Because you did it successfully, whatever it was.
Yeah, Bill, I tell this story all the time, right? I wasn't born in Wakefield. I grew up in Linfield, but my mom pushed me around the lake growing up, and I probably spent more time at Meltharbs than anyone else here. I was part of the YMCA when Artichokes was a YMCA of their swim team in 7th and 8th grade. So I feel like I have grown up around Wakefield. I think it was getting my messaging out. So people watched the debate and people read the newspaper, and I think social media, helps getting your message out there and connecting. And I think what I worked really hard on is I knocked on all those doors and I sent those postcards and I met with voters, and I think I was genuine. I think I came across as genuine.
I think that connected.
And it's not lost on
people who I didn't think would know much about you knew a lot about you. Friends of mine who I don't talk to politics all the time, in the last couple days were like, oh yeah, I met her at this, I saw this. So anyway. All right, listen, we're going to wrap things up here. Mr. Stapleton's about to kick us out of his studio here. A couple things. I want to thank the staff here, particularly the folks on the camera, the crew, for a great job. Really, this is great. It's always fun to do this show, and it's fun also because it's a little more relaxed and loose than the other sort of stuff we do here. You guys are great. This is it is always a treat. I've done this for a long time, and I'm having the most fun with these two guys.
Thank you for your show.
No, it is. No, stop. It's great. It's great too. The three of us have a lot of fun. We've been having a lot of fun doing this the last couple of years. It's a good crew, and it's a lively discussion. Okay, I've got to mention town meeting. But they're telling me to mention town meeting. Think of that irony. Town meeting next Monday night. Come to town meeting. It's a lot of fun. You know what I mean? And you have it is. I've been saying this for years. I say this. I go to the Massachusetts Town Moderators Convention, and what we talk about is we have a panel at the end, and everybody talks about it is the purest form of democracy. Where else in the world can you come in and you are the legislature, the folks that vote? So if you're sitting at home complaining and grousing, or you don't like something, or you like something, or in favor of something, or you just want to see how things work, next Monday night at the Galvin. Show up. You
Who's
get
the
to vote.
moderator for the moderators?
I will be there again this year. We're going to do that, yeah. So once again, I opened with this, but I do want to thank Tom Stapleton, the whole WCAT crowd. This is a really unique show, very cool show on a local level. The interest that this generates, I think, in politics is great. And David Watts does a class job with this whole thing. He's the producer, and he bugs us and drives us crazy, and then we have this really cool show. So, on behalf of WCAT, all the candidates who ran, not the ones who just won, all the candidates who ran, on behalf of, the citizens of Wakefield as your moderator, I just really do want to thank you. And it's important, and it hurts tonight, but in the long run, you've done something great.
True.
So that's it for tonight. I want to thank everyone at CAT for the 5th time, and good night and farewell. Thank you.
Thank you.